we're gonna, oh, that feeling when you drop your eyeshadow palette and you're just like, please God, like, allow all of these to have survived. Yes, they did. Okay, great. Hey Fruit Bats, welcome back to my channel, or if you're brand new here, hey, my name is Victoria, and I'm a makeup artist. I'm also a lifestyle, beauty, fashion vlogger. I changed it up on y'all. Ooh, y'all thought I was not capable of change. Guess what? There it is. In today's video, I'm going to be playing with some new to me products. I have lots of things from Lancome that they sent over. I have the new Colourpop pressed shadows and pigments that I purchased. We're gonna just play around and have a good time. I'm walking you through the entire thing from skin to lips. So if you are interested in seeing how I created this very warm toned orange smoky, not smoky eye, halo eye, and this glowing skin and these cute peach lips, please keep watching. Alright guys, so we're going to get started. We're going to do the whole bit today. We're going to do start to finish just because I want to, and it's been a very long time since I filmed a tutorial, and so I just want to go through the whole process. This is going to be long, but you either are digging it or you're not. I'm going to use the Ordinary High Spreadability Fluid Primer. You've seen this brand. You've seen this brand on Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, YouTube. You've seen it everywhere. This is a silicone-based primer, which I don't usually love. I'm not going to lie to you, but I've really been liking this one. This is the 5th day in a row I've worn it, and I just take, you can't see that on my fingers, I'm sure, because it's clear. But if you can, I just take about a pea-and-a-half sized amount, and I start in the center of my face, and I work my way out. And I really like circular motion, like rub it into my skin. If you just leave it sitting on top of the skin, like any sort of silicone primer, it's going to make your makeup like bunch up and roll off. So if you use a silicone primer, you just want to really work it in. What do I want to do for foundation? What did I pull out to play with today? I got you, I got you, and I got you. Clearly I don't want to do anything with lots of coverage because I pulled out very like light, medium things. Smashbox Camera Ready CC. Jouer Luminizing Moisture Tint. I love this stuff. I buy this every year. And I need to buy a new one. Or L'Oreal True Match. This is my favorite drugstore foundation of all time, by the way. I've said that before, and a lot of, like, not a lot, some of you guys have been, like, very personally upset when I've said this is my favorite drugstore foundation, and I'm just like, that doesn't mean it has to be yours, man. It doesn't mean that in any respect of the statement. You can like whatever you like. I just think this one is my favorite. I love how fast I can put it on. I just love that. I do need one little spot concealer place. Why is there foundation all over my hands? Right there. Maybe right there. I'm full aware that you can't see any of my little spots on camera because I'm sitting in front of very nice, very expensive lights and they diffuse everything. So I'm aware that you can't see these things that I'm just concealing a little bit, but they're there. Alright, and just to take a little bit of the coverage of the True Match, I would say, is very medium, which I like. But just to bring it down a little bit, since my skin's in pretty good condition, I'm doing a dry brushing technique, which I have talked about many times. It's where I take a foundation brush with just a little bit of product on it. Not like enough to where I could put it on and it would apply the product, just enough to where there is some foundation in the bristles. And I use whatever's left on the back of my hand, and I just go through in circular motions. I kind of buff off a little bit of that top layer of foundation. This is doing two things. Number one, it's taking away any excess foundation that's just sitting on top of my skin. That is not providing any sort of coverage or anything. It's just sitting there and it's going to get oily and gross later. This also allows me to further push the foundation I just applied with my beauty blender into my skin to make sure that it looks like skin and not so much like foundation. This is one of my favorite techniques to show people when I'm doing their makeup, especially people who want to wear makeup but they don't want the feeling of makeup. That really does help, takes away any of the extra emolliency, anything like that. Okay, let me grab some of my newer things we're going to play with. I'm not going to use these all today. As a matter of fact, I think I'm only going to use one. If you want to see a video where I demonstrate how to use all of these, not on myself, I'll have to pull in some other people, do let me know and I will film that for you. But these, I have the full collection of the Lancome Teint Idole Ultra Rare Camouflage Color Correctors. There's yellow, just drop it on the floor, Victoria. Yellow, peach, orange, red, green, and lavender. Peach is the one that I use every day, and that's what we're going to use today. These are the most pigmented color correctors I've ever seen in my entire life, so it does not take much. I'm going to apply a portion of a drop on the back of my hand. And then I'm going to apply a little bit of the Lancome Visionaire Ion Correction. This is like the Miracle 1 Minute Blur Primer that is my favorite primer ever from Lancome. And I'm going to apply a dot of that as well. And then I'm going to mix these together on the back of my hand and apply the color corrector. Using this to mix down the color corrector and break it down a little bit is very helpful because the color correctors on their own are very pigmented. They're a little sticky, just to be fair, and on their own they're just not quite as fluid. Breaking it down with this is going to help to prime your eyes. It's going to make the corrector a little bit more fluid and apply it to the area a little bit more seamlessly, and it's just going to make you enjoy the way the color corrector works a little bit more. Actually quite a bit more. So I'm going to take my Sephora 80 brush. This is my favorite concealer brush of all time, and I use it for color correcting as well. And I'm going to start stippling that on. For me, I need to color correct on the top and the bottom in the inner portion of my eye because that's where I am very, very dark due to hereditary circumstances. And then I'm going to switch to my beauty blender, but keep this brush in my hand and I'm going to tap it out. Now that we have corrected for concealer, I'm going to go in with my Anastasia Beverly Hills concealer in 2.5. This is my favorite, one of them of all time. And I've actually hit the bottom of the container. I never thought this day would come. I'm pretty excited about it, especially because I'm going to need to purchase another color of this for summer, just because I don't like my under eye concealer to be too much lighter than my skin. I like it to be like 1 shade lighter, not 33. So I'm going to need to probably move a shade or so down in this once summer hits and I'm tan. Same thing as the color corrector. I apply it wherever I applied the color corrector. And then I'm just going to wipe that off. I clean this brush every single day because both of the products that I use in this brush are very emollient and leave the opportunity for bacterial growth, and I can't have that near my eye. So I clean this every single day, as I do my beauty blender, and a gel eyeliner brush if I'm using gel eyeliner, or a lip brush if I'm using a lip brush. Pretty much any brush that touches a cream or liquid, I clean every single day. Using my RCMA No Color Powder. Big fan of this stuff, as you guys probably know. I'm going to get a little bit on my sponge, tap it out a bit, and we're going to first set the under eye, which will prevent anything from creasing, and then only after I have set the under eye can I then bake on top of that. If you just go through and put a ton of powder on it first to bake, it's going to set any sort of creases in place. And then we're going to go through, I have 2 Absolute powders from Lancome. I have Absolute powder in Absolute Peach and Absolute Golden. Absolute Golden is very pink. It blows my mind. I would think this would be more bronzy, but it's very much like a pinky sort of golden color. And this one, Absolute Peach, is quite peachy. Definitely more yellow. I love these powders. They give beautiful finishes to the skin. I shall swatch them both for you right now because I'm feeling kind. When I swatch it on my skin, you're really not going to be able to see the color of the powder so much because these are finishing powders, but you will hopefully be able to see the finish of the powders. Ooh, you might be able to see the color on Absolute Golden. Absolute Peach is much lighter. I'm really hoping you can see those. Absolute Golden's over here. Absolute Peach is hard to see, and it's over here. They're both very pretty on the skin. I think I'm going to use Absolute Peach today. Absolute Golden, I feel like will suit me more in the summer when I have a little bit less makeup on and my skin is just overall pretty bronzy and glowy. But I'm just not a big pink person in regards to like the finish and the glow of my skin. So I'm going to use Peach. I have a little bit in the cap right here. Taking it on my Sephora Pro Mini Airbrush 55.5. And we're just going to buff it on. I do like doing this finishing powder prior to my bronzer, to all of that kind of business, because I want my skin to overall have this finish. And I don't want it to look like it's necessarily like a powder I put on top. I just want it to look like the finish of my skin. So that's why I'm applying this prior to bronzer. We're going to take my Hourglass Ambient Lighting Powder in Dim Light. You guys know I cannot do my makeup without this powder. These are my favorite finishing powders of all time. However, these are quite nice. And I just take a little bit of that on this Morphe E49 brush. And I like to use this to wipe away the bake under my eyes. I like that particular method because it leaves the finish of the ambient lighting powder, but it's locked in place like it was baking with the rest of the powders, which is pretty cool. Alright, and just like that, we are done with skin. I'm going to leave the clips in, but I'm not going to talk or anything when I'm showing you guys like bronzer, highlighter, blush, that kind of thing, because I'm probably not going to use anything you haven't seen me use before. As a matter of fact, I know for certain that I'm not going to use anything y'all haven't seen me use before, so let's just get into it. Alright, so I actually stepped off camera and, whoop, let me get in the frame for you. I did one of my eyes and one of my brows, as you can see. I'm going to show you how I did this brow because it's different. It's not different from it. I've shown you the technique, but I haven't shown it to you guys in several months, so I thought I would show you guys that this is kind of my softer brow, if you will. I didn't use dip brow and I didn't use soap, so just a bit of a softer brow, still a little wild, still a little messy, still my style. If you don't like it, don't do it. Okay, so let's hop into these shadows. These are dreamy, man, they're pretty good. This is my Colourpop palette right now. These are all Colourpop's pressed shadows and some pressed pigments. Now, they advise do not use Colourpop pressed pigments around the eye area, but that's just because they're covering their ass with the FDA. So, I use them around my eye because I know I'm fine, and it's just is what it is. But for you guys, be careful and always do a test, and if there's any irritation, discontinue use around the eye area, blah blah blah. Okay, now I'm legally covered. Right, before I did my eyeshadow, I don't use eyeshadow primer really anymore. I just color correct and conceal and stuff and set it with powder and it's good to go. I don't really find that I need eyeshadow primer. Sometimes I will, but for the most part, it's just not really something that I take the time to mess with anymore because I find that what I use is just fine. So I did take a moment when I was doing my highlighter and I swept some of my highlighter up here at the brow bone and stuff. When I do softer brows, I always tend to do that trick because I'm not going to go back through and conceal my brows unless I'm using dip brow, because that's a very harsh line that it makes, and I like for it to be like a harsher brow highlight with a harsher brow line. But if it's a softer brow line, I want it to be a softer highlight. So none of that business here today. We're going to jump into my palette. The first color that I am going through to use, this is kind of a halo eye, by the way. They always look so nice, and I haven't done one in a while. This is the color IOU, and see if I can hold it up for you guys. It's a beigey orange, kind of like burnt orange from Anastasia, but not quite as deep. So I'm going to take that on a little goat-haired brush, and we're going to start working this kind of throughout the crease. This is going to be our blending and transitional color, so you don't really see this color at the end. Actually, I don't think you see it at all, but it really is going to help us lay the groundwork for this eye. Now that we have that color down, I'm going to pop over here and we're going to start working with Best Coast Scenario, which is, it's very, if you are familiar with Colourpop's, sorry, I have an itch. If you're familiar with Colourpop's shadow pressed pigment, I think it is, in Animal. This is like the pressed powder form of Animal, and it's not showing up on camera at all the color that it really is. Let me put it here. Yes, there we go. It was too similar to the color of my face. So next to my hair you can see what color it is. This is gorgeous, and it's very workable, very pigmented. So I'm going to take that, and this is where we're going to start building up the halo eye. So rather than doing the crease, we're going to start doing the halo form, which if you have never done a halo eye, it's basically where instead of doing all of your blending and deepening in the crease, you're going to do it in the outer corner and the inner corner. And you're going to leave the lid blank for the time being. So it's just like kind of in the crease, but basically the two outer edges. I'm really trying to work on not tipping my head, you guys. I don't know why I do that. It doesn't make makeuping any easier. And I also like to take it quite deep into this inner corner. If that's not your vibe, if that's not your look, you don't have to take it as deep in there. But I like it. It's a little bit more editorial. And I think it just gives it a little bit of extra something something. Okay, next we're going to go in with... Ooh, it's hard for me to get these out because I kind of have them stacked weird. This is the only palette I had available. Oh, Ship. There you go. This is like a red-orange. And we're going to go through after I can place this back in my palette. Thank you so much. Can you like scoot over just a little bit, please? Thank you. And you guys, this technique can work on any color scheme. You can do this with neutrals. You could do this with shades of warm brown. So if this is not your color story, if this makes you anxious, makes you feel uncomfortable, you can do this technique with any colors that you want. I know on my channel I have it done with a lime green and a navy. I have it done with neutrals. I have it done with pinks. Pink and gold, I've done this. I'm doing it in these nice warm orange and pink tones today. You can do this technique with any colors that you want. Now we're taking my blending brush. I'm just sweeping this across. One thing I will say about these Colourpop shadows is they're really buildable, which you might, you know, there's some people who want like the complete full color payoff in a shadow right off the bat, and then there's some people who want something that is a little bit more sheer but buildable, and that builds on itself. I would prefer to have that myself because I want to be able to layer it to the perfect opacity that I want. And, you know, sometimes I want a shadow that's super pigmented and just right off the bat, you know, one sweep and it's completely done. Sometimes I want that, but for the most part I really do want something that's buildable. That's not, you know, that I'm not going to have to like purposefully calculate out to make sure I'm not putting too much on right in the beginning. Next, I'm going to take Centerfold, which is like a peachier orange, like so. We're going to let that live over there for a minute. Next, I'm going to go through with Slim Fit, which is a step pinker than Centerfold, even, and I'm going to take this also through the crease. With a halo eye, you really don't want the crease to be the darkest part. You want the darkest part to be the inner and outer corner. So I will usually use, like we used mainly orange tones for the halo effect. So I will usually go with something that is not quite the same tones as here, but they're cousins, you know what I'm saying? So like if I did purples here, I would still do pink in the crease. If I was doing greens here, I would maybe do a teal or like a yellow in the crease. Something like that. And don't worry if like you're, you know, starting to lose some of this. We are applying product to it at the end. You just want to try to keep it clean because it's easier to apply the product when we get there. Alright, next we're going to darken the inner and outer corners. The final step. For this I mixed two colors together. We're using Crisscross, which is a brick brown kind of color, and then Poodle. No, sorry, Making Moves. This is Making Moves. I'm going to mix both of those together to give me that final step of darkness for the halo effect. Just keep in mind that these are all subtleties. These are not, like, we're not jumping drastically. It's a subtle build-up. That's how I think you get the most successful halo eye, when you just jump into it and it's like too quick, I think that's when these can kind of go south. Okay, and then we're gonna let that live for a bit. The center portion of my eye, I used the Nicole and ABH palette. I used Daydream over here, which is the orangey color, and wet my brush. I'm applying this right in the center where we have that blank space, and I take it pretty much up to the crease of my eye, and then we just blend it in with everything so it doesn't look like it's just plopped there. You'll see. You'll see. So we're applying it light, nice and pretty. Taking a little bit more. And you can use these wet and dry, you guys. Don't be afraid. You're not going to mess anything up. They're really pretty. Okay, now we're going to do the lower lash line. Let me get my brush cleaned off real quick. I'm going to use a pencil brush. This one is a Crown C513. Okay. And we're going to basically go through the same progression of colors that we did. So I'm using that first peachy color all the way across the lash line from outer to inner corner. And I take this quite far down. You don't have to. You can, if you don't want it to be outside of even the waterline, you can just do this in the waterline. You'd probably have to use some eyeliners. Okay, now we're going to do some brows. I'm using my Hourglass Arch pencil in dark brunette. This is my favorite brow pencil. Beats out Anastasia, beats out everything. And this is my best color. That matches my brows naturally. So this is, like I said, my brow that I do when I just don't want the whole process of like the soap, the dip brow, the everything. My brows are very full on their own, so I don't need a lot. On this brow, this is my crappier brow, so I basically just need to fill in the arch and define the cut at the front. I'm then going to go through with Lancome Source Styler. I have the color 3, brown, and this has such an odd little brush. So it looks like it's going to be just like a little tiny brow brush when you look at it from the side, but then I rotate it, and it's like a flat stick on this side. So a little bit of a learning curve with this one. I'm not going to lie to you, because I'm like, what do you do with the flat side? Now that I've played with it a little bit more, I know that I use the flat side to, like, if I'm not doing any pencil and I just need to stamp in some areas real quick. A moment of silence for this. They don't go nearly as high as they used to, though, because I just clipped them. Because they were getting, like, mad bushman. And I was like, okay, listen. I'm cool. I'm letting my brows live their best life. I'm not waxing them anymore. I'm not doing any of those things. But, like, my brow hairs, some of them were, like, literally, when I straightened them, they were, like, all the way up to here. Like, an inch long. I'm actually kind of tempted to not put lashes on with this look, but we both know I'm going to put lashes on, so I'm just going to stop playing games and get them on, because you know what's coming. Alright, lashes were a bit of a disaster, but that's fine. I'm using my Salon Perfect 615s, my favorite lashes of all time, and as I was pulling the first one up, the last bundle on the edge split off the band. And I was like, instead of just throwing that whole pair of lashes away though, I was like, you know what, these are kind of cute short. They kind of look like dolly lashes. So instead of like worrying about it and like applying them to the outer edge and then just bringing it in and having it be short in here, I just applied them in the center, and I think it looks very doll-like. I think it's kind of creepy and it's cute, and this is like not, you know, this is not the average Joe's kind of look, I don't think. Anyway, so I think that some license for the lashes to be a little bit different and weird is kind of cool. So now we're just going to do blush and lips. I waited to do my blush until the end because I just wasn't sure. I thought I might want something brighter on my cheeks, and I'm going to. So I'm going to go get that blush right now, and then we're going to do some sort of a something on my lips. Blush, I'm going to use Sparkling Bellini from Too Faced. This is a very orangey blush, and I love it, and I'm going to apply it very doll-like right on the apples of my cheeks. I don't know when this turned into a doll tutorial, but I'm fine with it, honestly. Not going to do doll lips though. I already got China doll lips, I don't need to emphasize them. Alright everyone, thank you so much for watching today. I hope you had fun and enjoyed me showing you some makeup that I have not used before. I had a lot of fun. This was a great first tutorial to come back to. And I really love this look. Let me know in comments down below what you want to see me do next, whether it's technique or play with colors or specific products or anything like that. And I will get to those when I can. If you enjoyed this video, if you enjoy me, make sure you subscribe by hitting the subscribe button down below. And don't forget to turn on bell notifications so that you will get a notification every time I upload a new video. Otherwise, YouTube will unsubscribe you from my channel. I will see you all in my next video. Bye.